What in the world? Okay. What in the world? Man, this footage on my wall is boring. Hello YouTube. So today we'll be looking at Paranormal Activity. Now this film has a much less interesting gimmick to it than the Blair Witch did. All this one did was get people a demand to see it in their theaters. This caused it to get more attention than it would have, and it did very well at the box office, but other than that, it didn't do much to make it stand out, so let's see if it was worth asking for. So the story for this, much like the Blair Witch, is extremely simple. When Katie was younger, she was haunted by a demon, which eventually burned down her first house. And throughout her life, it would go on and off of haunting her, until eventually she moved in with Mika, her boyfriend, and that's when things apparently got worse. Yeah, not really all that much has been happening that's worse. I mean, her house burnt down originally, but now horrifying things like chandeliers moving, loud noises, and it walking into your room, that's so much worse. And yeah, she's blaming all that on Mika filming. Don't know why the demon would be angry about that, but apparently it is. So they call in a psychic who gives them very useful information of there's nothing I can do here, so I don't really know why I didn't just refer you to anybody else when we were talking on the phone. Especially since I already know a guy, but I just like wasting my and yours time. As you can tell, he's very useful. So, yeah, they just continue to deal with the thing on their own. And as you can tell, that works out very well with it getting worse. So they finally decide to call a demonologist, but he's out of town. Womp womp. So then they just call back in the psychic who says exactly what he said earlier. Yeah, there's really nothing different about what he said this time. It's just the demon doesn't like that I'm here. I should leave now. Goodbye. That's really his whole scene. I mean, as you can tell, he's very useful. And, you know, if the demon doesn't like you being there, maybe you can do something to it. Just saying. I mean, not even gonna try. Just immediately give up. Okay. And that's when things actually do start to seem worse as Katie's dragged out of her bed and then she's seemingly possessed. And yeah, then she starts talking with two voices. Mika does not decide to leave during any of this, just so you know. I mean, he's still in the room. He still heard her say that. Just like, how could you not hear that? But yeah, I mean, I guess that's something that's very easy to miss. So, yeah, they just go to sleep and everything's normal until Katie wakes up and then just sort of stands around the bed for a few hours looking at Mika, and then she goes downstairs, screams, he goes after her, and she kills him. Yay! And that's just sort of the end of the movie. So, actually, one thing that I do want to bring up is that there were 4 alternate endings for this movie, and only one of them actually had Mika die on screen. Yeah, all the others are, for the most part, the same as the theatrical one. However, there is one where Katie slits her throat, and there's also another where Katie just sort of hides away for a few days until her friend comes by and calls the police, in which Katie is shot down. So, I guess that there's a version where she lives. That's nice. Although my personal favorite version was the one that was never filmed. That one being where Mika was beaten to death with his own camera. That would be so beautifully ironic. I just really wish that that one had happened, but unfortunately, it was too hard for them to film, and we'll never get to see Mika being beaten to death with his own camera. If only they could just bought a fake head or something, but apparently that was too hard to do. So, yeah, I don't really get why they couldn't film that. It would have been awesome, but I guess, yeah, fake heads are kind of expensive, but yeah, still. So, yeah, really, there's not that much to this movie. It's a bunch of minimal hauntings, and that can get kind of old, especially when they try and fake you out with things like a spider. It's just annoying at times like that. And the characters aren't all that great. Now, much like the Blair Witch, they weren't given all that much direction, so for the most part, this is a lot of their actual reactions. It's just that there were some things that, well, obviously they were scripted on. And yeah, really, it just doesn't come across as well as it did there. Here, it just seems kind of boring, honestly. At the very least, with the Blair Witch, there was a lot of history to it that gave it a whole lot more of an interesting watch. But with this one, it's very straightforward. Everything is told to you. There's no mystery about the backstory of the demon because Mika flat out says, well, it's a demon. It just wants to be evil and do demon things. So, yeah, really, there's no mystery surrounding why it goes after Katie because they say that's random. So, there's no real intrigue with that. The hauntings aren't very eerie at all. Now, okay, yeah, I will say that they were actually based off of one of the experiences that the director of the film had, and that's actually how it came up with the idea for the movie, which is a little bit creepy, but really, just like, it walks into their room, it moves a chandelier, it moves a Ouija board. Oh, and yeah, there are Ouija boards in the... God, why Ouija boards? Seriously, Ouija boards are just stupid to me. Like, they can easily be seen as something that you could fake with. I mean, it's just so dumb to me. But at the very least in this one, no one was around when the thing was moving, so that's kind of cool. Although I don't know why the demon waited for them to leave. Kind of a patient demon. But I guess it wanted to scare them more when they got back. I don't know. But yeah, really the scares aren't all that strong in this. Again, they're just sort of little things happening, and yeah, a lot of it's just sort of the same thing after a while. There's some noise, something weird happens, and they go after it. Katie says that she doesn't want to film this or starts crying, and Mika goes to confront it head on because obviously a guy with a camera is a great defense against a demon. I mean, that's just common logic right there. So, yeah, really the story for this one is pretty weak. Yeah, I mean, it does have some creative aspects to it in the way that's handled, but still, it just sort of tries to do the same thing as the Blair Witch did. It's just on a much smaller scale, and while I will commend them for that, it doesn't really add all that much originality to it or intrigue, and a lot of the mystery that surrounded the Blair Witch and her lore is really just taken out of this one, so there's not that much for you to be invested in here. So for the story, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10, as yeah, it's not terrible and it's handled decently, but yeah, it's definitely just kind of bland in its approach. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for the story, but the characters could be better. Yeah, let's just go into the characters. So, for the characters, much like the Blair Witch, there's not that many of them, although this one has one more than that one did, so, I mean, it has that going for it. So, yeah, the main one is Katie, and she's alright. She spends most of the movie crying a lot or being scared of stuff, and very little does she seem like she's calm about things. She actually seems to put on a show around the psychic, even when things have really been scary around them. then she's still just like, oh yeah, come on in. I mean, it's okay, just sit down and stuff. I'll get you a drink if you want. I mean, it's just like, you were just dragged out of bed by a demon into a hallway which caused you screaming. Oh, but yeah, I mean, just be all kind and friendly like that. So, yeah, she's not all that great of a character. Yeah, she can be pretty bland, and her past with the demon is easily the most interesting thing about her. However, that's not expounded on that much in here. I mean, yeah, okay, it is indeed given much more attention in the sequels, but here, not really. I mean, yeah, okay, it is addressed in this. It's just not all that much. And yeah, it is still a little bit, I gotta side with Mika here. It's a little bit weird that she didn't decide to tell him that there was a demon that's been following her around for years in her life when they moved in together. I mean, yeah, okay, not on the first few dates or something, but after a while, if you move in together, you'd think that you should bring that up, or at least when it first starts, to make it sound like you're not as crazy. But yeah, okay, don't tell him about that until now. Yeah, really, I just feel like she didn't really give him any warning on that, so she is a little bit of a jerk in that regard. Although, yeah, she still isn't that terrible of a character, and you can definitely see how much the demon has affected her throughout her life. It's just, she's kind of lame, really. I mean, like, seriously, things that horrify Katie: a spider, an attic door, noises, whispering, and sheets moving. Ooh. And those things can cause her to cry. Yeah. So, really, yeah, there are definitely some, kind of lame aspects to her, and yeah, she's not that great of a main character, but she's not terrible or anything. I've definitely seen worse. It's just, yeah, she can be a bit of a blank slate. Same can be said for Mika, as, he likes to film and is a bit of an a-hole. That's character, I guess. Other than that, though, he's kind of normal despite demons being around him. Same can be said for Katie. Seriously, she's been around demons her whole life, but when we first meet her, she's just pretty normal. I mean, like, that wouldn't have an effect on me at all, I guess. So, yeah, Mika can be kind of annoying at times, as he can be a bit of a jerk. Even though I do side with him on some things, he's not all that great. And yeah, really, he's just kind of boring at times. So he's either a jerk or he's just sort of there, and that's kind of it. So yeah, he's not that interesting, although really none of the characters in this are. Then there's Amber, Katie's friend who comes by sometimes. That is all. Yeah, there's really not that much to Amber. She just sort of stops by and then leaves. So, yeah, she's useful. Although, to be fair, in one of the alternate endings, she does have more of a point, as she's the one who calls the police. So, yeah, there is a bit more to her originally, but yeah, still not really all that interesting of a person. And then we have the last one, the psychic. Yeah, I know he has a name, but I didn't care to remember it, nor did anyone on IMDb or Letterboxd, so I'm just calling him Psychic. So, yeah, he's extremely useless. Like, he just stops by sometimes and says, oh yeah, well, there's nothing I can do here. Anyway, let me refer you to this guy who's out of town. Helpful. Yeah, he even drives by what was apparently a very long drive too, given the daylight behind him fading by then. He comes by after all that time just to say, the demon doesn't want me here. I should leave. Goodbye. You're so helpful. Thank you. I'm so glad that you came by to reinforce us on something that we already know. Like, why even come by? Why can't you just say that over the phone? Like, hey, I'm still not an expert in this field. And why not try and And why don't they ever ask him, hey, do you know any other demonologists who, might be in town right now? Just saying, there's a few options here, but yeah, I guess not. So yeah, he is extremely useless. So for the characters in this, I'm gonna give them a 3, as yeah, they're not really all that great. They're all kind of boring, and really there's not all that much to them. I think what's mostly supposed to be done with them is relatability in order to make the movie sort of go along with that whole realism thing. But yeah, it doesn't really work to me, as a lot of times it does feel like they're reading a script to me, in particular with some of the hauntings. And yeah, really they are kind of boring or just not overly likable characters. I mean, they're not terrible or anything. I've definitely seen worse. It's just, yeah, really I didn't mind watching them die a few times. So yeah. So for this movie overall, it's okay. That's the best way I can put that. Yeah, really, it's just kind of a boring movie to me. A lot of the supposedly scary stuff is kind of destroyed because it's supposed to be realistic, so they don't really get to go all that far with the scares here, and a lot of them are just sort of flowers on the floor in spots that it wasn't before. Voices in the room that might be caused by some audio issues. Wow, a chandelier moved. Woo! Yeah, just stuff like that just really is kind of lame. Oh, and also, an attic door opens. Oh, wow, a rat or something could be up there. Wow, amazing horror here. So yeah, there are really some aspects like that just really aren't scary to it. I will say there are a few legit scares in this. It's just overall there's not enough to even it out. And yeah, a lot of the horror in this is not all that great. This story is extremely simplistic, however, it doesn't have any real mystery surrounding it in order to have you fully invested with it, and the characters aren't overly likable, so yeah, that takes you out of it even more. Although this movie did really scare Steven Spielberg. Apparently. According to IMDb, it did. So, that's something, I guess. So, yeah, really overall, this movie is not all that great, and it's definitely not something that I would highly recommend, but if you do want to see the series, then yeah, the first one's kind of essential, and it's not terrible, and as someone who hasn't seen the rest of the series, they just know about it, I will say that the series could be good if done correctly, but here it's not really done that way or handled overly well, and I think that mostly tries to scare people with, realism, which something that you kind of get taken out of when, oh yeah, it's a movie, and there's a thing at the end of the movie that says, this wasn't real. You know, when you see something like that, you kind of get taken out of realism here. So, yeah, honestly, this movie is not all that great, but it does have some appealing aspects to it. So, overall, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10, as it's alright and it's handled fairly well, but it could have been handled a whole lot better, and yeah, there's definitely a whole lot more downsides to it than positives. So yeah, 4 out of 10, and next week we'll be taking a bit of a break from found footage movies that are in the horror genre, since, well, not all of them are, so we will be looking at Chronicle. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. Bye.